Hello, everyone. Welcome to Toon Talk with.
Take two.
We
Sorry.
had to take two because somebody may or may not have forgotten to record the first one. So it was the best podcast ever. You'll never see it, but we will attempt to.
But let's be clear. This is what is called Toon Talk 2.0 because it's the second take.
It was already in the title. You called it.
Go ahead, man. I interrupt you. Of course, get used to for our interruptions. We interrupt each other all the time. So
It's like
go
I
ahead.
said. It's like I said on the last podcast. It's a conversation. This isn't going to be one of those boring like. Now we're going to go to the next segment where we talk about the themes. No, it's all over the place. But anyway, introductions. For those of you who don't already know me, my name is Jake. I am obviously the co-host of Toon Talk. I am also I don't know what you would call me, the chief ringleader and ne'er-do-well of the Arte Podcast Network, where we currently have four, soon to be five, independent podcasts in our like little confederation. Just independent creators, just trying to help each other out. Um, and I have a background. I've got a very storied background. I've got a pretty interesting life, actually. I always like to joke around and say I know a little bit about a lot. I own my own business. I'm in the cabinetry world. I also own a single rental property now, but hopefully I'll have two or three in the next 2 years, depending on how that real estate market turns out. I've got a background in multimedia production and specifically editing. I've got a very editor brain. And I just generally like to learn about anything, particularly history. But as you can see behind me, I love books. I like to read a lot, but I'm also a movie and TV junkie, hence why we're going to talk a lot about pop culture.
Good. Hey, everyone. My name is. Thank you, Jake. My name is Virus. I'm the lead singer from the band again. And Jake and I, decide to make this podcast because, first of all, we don't think as normal people think. I want to believe that. And we are into the details, right? So we're like, I'm not going to say we're Sherlock Holmes, but we're two annoying Watsons, right? So that being said, I contact him and say, you know what, let's do something together. And we decided to throw this podcast called Toon Talk 2.0 just about pop culture and realize and express how we feel about pop culture and all the simplifications and complications that pop culture generates to society and the world that we're living. So yesterday we had a great podcast that is going to be just saved from the arc of nowhere in the Never Never land. But
We'll always have Toon Talk 1.0.
on 1.0, but actually I feel more comfortable this time because now we kind of know what we're going to talk about. Because yeah, he likes conversation. I'm the one that is already in control of what's going to happen. Even I don't follow it, right? So, but it's good to have introductions. And he's Jake. I'm Virus, and welcome to Toon Talk 2.0.
Just to let everybody know, I have a very thick skin, so whatever you feel like putting in the comments. And yes, I know for some reason it's super bright in here, and it's either too bright or too dark. So I
That
will
was the
fix
name of
that.
the. No, you're good. Do you remember the WWE fighter, the Irish something that he was extremely white? What was his
Seamus.
name?
Seamus, yep.
Sheamus. You look like Sheamus right now. Can you do
I,
that?
I really do. And actually, fun fact, huge wrestling nerd. It's probably the nerdiest thing that I do. And I've got a podcast about that. Down the middle every 2 weeks. If you're a pro wrestling fan, check it out on YouTube, Spotify, all the major platforms. You can find it. It's easy. But we're not going to talk about pro wrestling tonight.
But you see how good we are with product placement. Right away, he got his mention for his other podcast.
And by the way, this podcast is brought to you by water, not just any water, colored water.
And because it's our second take, I forgot to bring my water, so I got an empty bowl. Great.
Well, it's a good thing we got
No.
that sweet sponsorship, bro.
So yesterday in our first, we're not ashamed to say that we made a mistake, so we didn't record it, but we had a really good conversation starting for Star Wars, and I really love the way that Star Wars looks in everyone perception. Obviously, you're born in America, right? I born in Argentina and grew up in Mexico City and all around the world. So the perception of everyone is so valuable and unique that makes this interesting. And this podcast, we're going to talk today. I want to go into Star Wars because I got a lot of doubts.
Well, I will go ahead because I'm a stickler for accountability and accuracy. So yesterday, I started to go down a rabbit hole, but I didn't quite know where I was going, and I said something that you really picked apart, and I'm glad you did because I was like, well, shit, he's right. When I was saying that Kylo Ren wasn't as good as Darth Vader, and that was my biggest problem. Well, not my biggest, but one of my big problems, and how the new trilogy seemed to go out of its way to kill off the old guard, so to speak. Now I know with Carrie Fisher that was unavoidable, but particularly Han and the assassination of Luke Skywalker, both literally and metaphorically. Although I guess in the movie it was more of a suicide, but which
It was a suicide.
it made no sense. But you very astutely pointed out that Kylo Ren is not for the original fans. Kylo Ren is the Darth Vader for the next generation.
Of course, and it's Darth Vader. If you look at it nowadays, right? If you're a 5-year-old, 3, 4, 5-year-old kid that is going with dad to see Star Wars, and the dad is like you and me, so excited to show them, right? The adult will be like, he's just a copycat. But if we look into the character, tell me a grandson that doesn't want to be like grandpa when grandpa is the only one that understands you.
Yes,
So
and upon further reflection, Kylo Ren once again, because we established pop culture is not only what's popular, it's also a reflection of the culture, and it goes back and forth because culture influences pop culture, and then pop culture does a figure eight and influences culture, so it's a constant ebb and flow. Kylo Ren as a villain is really a Generation Z villain in the fact that he is suffering from an inferiority complex of the past. He wants to live up to his grandfather, but deep down inside, he knows he never will. And ultimately, he does. He doesn't get it because he's trying to stack up against Darth Vader when he ends up really going above and beyond what Anakin Skywalker did in the end. So, in a way, he fulfills that prophecy, just not in the way he was intending.
something just popped into my mind, and it's really good how it matches with society. And humor me with this, guys. Darth Vader is a guy that was falling in love, conflicted because he missed the mom to follow his dream. Then he find a reflection of the mother in an older woman called Princess Amidala. They have this rebel love. If this sound like edges in society, tell me if I'm not there. So fall in love is a forbidden love, like right the 60s, right? And then she dies at birth, and he goes crazy because he's manipulated by a entity of evil that turns him into his right path because he's an evil character. Anakin is not a good kid. Regardless, a good kid wouldn't even have the qualities that he has as a kid. He's never been a normal kid. I'm not gonna say good or bad because he's evolving till he goes crazy and he becomes evil. But then we have Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren is just a spoiled little kid that wasn't accomplished because his dad is a general right away, and the mom is a tough cookie. I mean, Princess Leia is the meanest manipulator in the whole movie. Even Han Solo died because she says, please bring my kid back. Like, dude, he's been the evil force for the last 10 years and you want me to bring it back, but whatever. My point is, if we analyze society, we see the manipulation, how it was important to be good, fall in love, being a rebel, like in the 50s, in the 60s, torn, and it's when divorces start happening around the world, around the 70s. You could be divorced by, I mean, there were since forever, but accepted by society. In the 60s, you didn't divorce. I mean, maybe yes, I'm not a psychologist, but my point is like, Darth Vader is created for that society and for the people that live that society to understood. However, Kylo Ren is created for millennials. He's a spoiled kid, never accepted. He want to be a rebel, so he becomes bad. Because Kylo Ren is not evil. Kylo Ren is not a bad guy. He's just frustrated because he's I remember the scene when he hits himself. He needs to manipulate pain to bring the dark force on him because he's not bad. In the first switch, he become good. How long it took Darth Vader to become good?
20 some odd years.
How many took to Kylo Ren? 6.
From yeah, because he turned to the dark side when he was an adult, but a young adult, but an adult. I'm going to put on my psychologist glasses real quick.
Ooh.
We're gonna get deep.
Do
So
I need to lay down?
no, this is for you. This is Kylo Ren. And for the record, I'm not a psychologist. This is just a bit. Don't freak out, everybody. But you made me go through a thought process here. So you're right. Kylo Ren's major motivation is frustration because he does come from a great and revered family. I mean, his grandfather was Anakin Skywalker. His uncle is Luke Skywalker. His parents are Leia and Han Solo. And when he's younger, he starts going down the path that he's supposed to go down. And he's doing everything he's supposed to do. And then his uncle attacks him. Now, Kylo is suffering. What's that?
Fear.
Well,
Frustration and fear.
Yeah, but mainly frustration is his.
Yeah.
It's funny because it's his driving force, but it's also his worst enemy because his inferiority complex stems from he was on the path and then on a subconscious level it wasn't good enough because otherwise why would Luke attack him? And I don't think he ever knew why Luke attacked him. He just was being attacked. But then at the same time, it's implied. I don't know if they ever outright stated. I can't remember, but it's implied at the very least that everybody's kind of like, even within the First Order, like, well, yeah, but he's no Darth Vader. I mean, he's strong, but he's no Darth Vader. And plus, he got beat by a girl. But so now he can't even.
The feminists listening to us, we're just joking.
Yeah, sorry, not sorry. Sorry, not sorry. But I mean, more so that he got beaten by someone who simply has raw talent and no training, and he trained his entire life, which is very frustrating. But the side effect. So now he's frustrated because he was on the righteous path and strayed from it because in his mind, he wasn't good enough to follow that path, so he chose his own path, going the opposite direction. He chose the path of what he thought his grandfather wanted, even though he knows that he would know that Anakin returned to the light in the end, but maybe he thought that was not the right way to go. But then he can't even do that right.
But let me move this to a normal life. Forget Star Wars, forget the King and from Chewbacca. Let's assume that a guy is the owner of the biggest media company in Denmark. That is a small country. So his son, right? He never knew his son, but he's 17 and he returns. And even all the advisor says he's too old. Don't train him, right? He's too old. I'm talking about Luke Skywalker. Even so, he gets trained. Then, when everything goes to hell and the company goes to pieces, the only survivor of the shares of the company is Luke Skywalker. That, guess what? He's a still young kid that is an arrogant, that is impertinent, that he frustrates really easy, that he didn't supposed to be trained as a Jedi because he's just there. What is this word where only family goes to the company?
Nepotism.
Nepotism. Star Wars is a nepotism. Anakin didn't supposed to be trained. It was Qui-Gon connections. And something that I read yesterday that really blew my mind. But let me finish my thought. The path that Star Wars goes, it showed you that the lack of preparation from the beginning is what guide everything to the wrong side. You're right. We never know why Luke Skywalker, well, we assume, it's never clear, why he attacked Ben Solo.
Well, okay, and so here's the problem with The Last Jedi, is they do tell us why, but it's so unlike Luke Skywalker to do it, because Snoke was manipulating his mind, and we all know they retcon the fact that Snoke was actually a Palpatine clone, but he was a weaker Palpatine clone, which doesn't make any sense because they kill him so easily. But I digress. So they give a reason, but it's a reason that doesn't make any sense in the established universe, and that's one of the many reasons I think most Star Wars fans, at the very least, don't like the new trilogy as much as the previous movies. Because
But again, go ahead, go ahead.
I was just going to say, because a lot of the story beats and a lot of the character beats just don't make sense with the established lore.
Because a different generation. I'm not talking about the viewers watching the movie. Talking a new generation of events that makes the writer adapt to this marketing. Because at the end of the day, it could be the best movie in the world, and if for any reason the movie is not connected with the socio economy of the happening in the world, they're not going to have good distribution. And if it doesn't have good distribution, you can see it. And if you can watch it, it's going to finish in YouTube, right, with 300 views, even it's the best movie in the world. If you don't believe me, the original movie where the template of Star Wars is created from Kurosawa, barely 10% of the people that love Star Wars has watched it because the distribution of a Japanese movie wasn't good in America. And if you don't believe me, just go and check every Quentin Tarantino movie. It's a remake and an adaptation to the American market from a Japanese movie because they didn't have that distribution. So, to my point, in the characters development, you are right. They're out of sense because they needed to adapt it because the dad that was frustrated because his wife died, he didn't know that he had kids, that he has a psychological problem, double personality, inflated of pain, uh, lack of trust. Darth Vader has all the collection of things that you don't supposed to have. He's the one that will discover that everything that they told him was a lie. So his trust issues gonna triplify. Realizing in 1 second that love is the answer, that I agree with that, but he sacrificed himself, but as a conduct to save his own soul for all the nightmares and all the people that he killed since the first time. And I want to go to Qui-Gon because Qui-Gon is one of the most important pieces in the second trilogy, first part of the story. So my point is that they needed to adapt Luke Skywalker because if I'm a 7-year-old kid and I know about Darth Vader because that has made me watch the movie 300 times. And I saw Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren is thinner. He can take the mask like we're used to in the Marvel movies because now we're used to know the character. He can take the mask because it was really easy to say that Ben had an accident and he needed to use the mask. But no, they need to keep the marketing and society going through. So now Kylo Ren for a 3 to 8-year-old kid is the Darth Vader. He's cool. He can take the mask. Now, I'm sorry that I'm going such a marketing. Now I can sell a helmet that opens and closes, not like Darth Vader's. Now this one is more expensive because open and closes. So I got a different marketing device and a different product to sell. Then the evolution of the feminism is working really good. It's going well. We need a woman hero that you say right. Raw power and heart will destroy somebody that's been training all the life. I don't know if you know this that happened in the Senate. They were saying that the equality for women, that I don't want problems. Everyone is the same for me, and I don't care about that. But they say that Serena Williams could beat, he already beat a man. Yeah, the guy was at 37, 38 position in the list of better players. What we saw in the movie was an adaptation to society. If a woman right now, raw talent, fast as hell, amazing ability, goes in front to a NFL linebacker, she will be smashed. And that's what Kylo Ren is compared to a rookie, right? But they needed to adapt it to society. Why? Because the fan, sorry, I'm almost there. I'm
No,
almost
no,
there.
you're good. You're
The
good.
fan, the fan that is watching this need to feel an attachment and empathy. For a movie to be successful, you need to have empathy with the viewer. Could be the best amazing movie, but if it's a crazy guy over there, a crazy girl over there, and you go and watch Mussolini Salo and you have empathy, well, you need a psychologist. But it's impossible that you have empathy for that. Star Wars is good because attack all the issues in subtext of society with the time it was released and make an empathy to the viewers. That's what you make a blockbuster. And again, don't take me wrong. I'm not all marketing. I'm not all that. I'm just analyzing because it's one of my favorite movies. I seen The Empire Strike Back. I don't know, man. Sometimes I just put it in the back meanwhile I'm working.
Yep. No,
So it's a part of my life.
100%. I'm a little bit more of a Trekkie myself, but I enjoy Star Wars. But I'm gonna put my editor cap on and see what you think of this because I'm the first to admit I'm a terrible writer, but I'm one of those people where like if you throw all the ideas out on the table and I'm like tweak this, tweak that, and then it like comes together. So that I've got a very much an editor mind. So everything you said I 100% agree with, but what if we make the storytelling actually better, keep all those elements? So one of the biggest criticisms of people that were critical of the new trilogy was that, oh, they just don't want to see a strong woman. No, I was psyched when I heard that the lead hero was going to be a woman. I was like, cool, this is different, this is fresh, but you can still keep it in the same sort of vein of storytelling, and very much with Kylo Ren. So why, like, let's because my biggest issue with Kylo Ren is his motivation because it flies in the face of Star Wars. So in the case of Kylo Ren, why don't we do this? We have Kylo Ren, grew up idolizing his uncle, the Jedi. I want to carry on the legacy of the Jedi, but he's not a prodigy. He's all right, but he's just not that good. So he wants to get better. He wants power. Then he learns about his grandfather. And in that moment, he gets seduced by the dark side, truly seduced, because, that desire for power that comes from a good place. He wants to be a good Jedi, right? But the way he's been doing it isn't working. So now he's desperate. And desperation, it doesn't follow Yoda's spiel, but in his desperation, he is seduced by the dark side. And they already established Snoke, or whoever the big bad is. The Sith are known for seducing people who want power or who want something. Anakin was seduced to the dark side from a desire to save Padme. So, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, as they always say. So Kylo Ren, Ben Solo gets seduced by the dark side, becomes Kylo Ren, and I get your point with the mask. So whether or not he actually, I think if you change that to his motivation, I prefer that he doesn't need the mask. He wears it, modeling himself after Darth Vader, because it's a facade. As it is in this film to a certain extent.
Ask me what I think about my grandfather.
What do you think about your grandfather?
He fought in the Second World War. He was one of the pilots of the Squad 201 that fought in the Second World War. Ask me if I will fly an airplane. I won't. You stay with me, right? Ask about my uncle. I don't want to be a guy that builds trains. I don't, right? Han Solo, as my dad, I don't want to be an ambassador. The problem is that they want him to be something that he's not. And you are right. They force him. If somebody told you right now, forget everything that you do, forget everything that you study, tomorrow the family is going to put a hamburger stand and you're going to be the cook. You're going to be like, okay, we'll do it for the family, but that's not what I want to do.
Oh, and that happens. And that happens to so many people.
That's what is the empathy of the story. J.J. Abrams is not stupid.
No.
Now, not because he's directing the movie means that everything that he wants will be done. And I want to talk about that in the industry. We as critics, as fans, it's easy to say, I didn't like this. I'm with you. They could just make a little piece of the movie, 4 minutes, that she was training like crazy, right, Ray? And then put 6 months later, oh my God, now the fight is going to be good because she's been trained. They didn't do that. Probably, I don't know. Somebody, J.J. Abrams or whoever that direct the movies or produce the movies say, let's do this. Then you got to deal with distribution deals, budgets, actors' schedules. And I understand it's sometimes annoying how much you have so much budget and it doesn't work perfectly. And it's the most frustrating thing for fans. But you and me were talking this about, we can talk about Flash in another episode. But for the moment that the script is written, to the moment that the movie is released, so many hands touch the thing that sometimes you have lawyers in WB or here in Disney. Let's not forget about the simple factor. Lucasfilm was here and it was bought by Disney. Now we need to follow Disney's standards. We need to go to a path of all the women gonna be the hero for the next line. Oh, it didn't work. Now it's not. Remember, they kick out the director of Disney now because she wanted to bring every equality, and it was a mess. Why? Not because of her, because he got four advisors that are telling him what to do. So as fans, we can just hope for the best, but the reality is that we have zero control. Zero control. But again, Star Wars is based in the situation of society, and the beautiful thing about Lucas is that he saw that a year before it was happening. And that's what a good writer is. It's like you and me make a movie right now about, I don't know, space bears, right? But we know that in the future, one of the bears going to have a blonde hair and he want to be a president. And it's going to fall the release when it's the elections. It will be empathy for the movie. And that's what make a good movie a good movie. Timing and empathy. I'm not defending I didn't hate the new Star Wars because I understood that it was a relaunch of a product. It wasn't a movie for the fans. It was a movie for the kids to generate more fans.
I will lightly counter because I totally get, understand, and agree with what you're saying. But I will counter with, did you see Top Gun Maverick?
Yeah, of course. I actually know the original writer that he's suing the movie because they never pay him. But go ahead.
Well, so my point with Top Gun Maverick, for those that were, well, I'm going to tell you, so it doesn't matter if you were aware or not. There was a bit of controversy when the trailer was released because it's very quick. But the funny thing was, I noticed it, and I was like, but then I thought it was like a weird, like I couldn't have seen that. On the back of Maverick's bomber jacket, he's got several flags, two of which being the flag of Japan and the flag of Taiwan, because he would have served an naval vessel on that. Well, in the trailer, they changed them to flags that were different but had the same color scheme. And the reason they did that is because the distributor of the film, or one of the distributors attached to, or financiers, sorry, one of the financiers attached to the film was a Chinese company. I can't remember the name, but it was a Chinese company. And we all know China doesn't like acknowledging Taiwan.
Of course.
And they're not particularly friendly to Japan for reasons. Won't get into that right now. But the fact of the matter is, but it's the bomber jacket that we saw in the first movie that had those flags on it. So a lot of fans, myself included, were like, really? Like we can't even bring back the jacket because China says so. However, after the pandemic, that Chinese financier pulled out of the movie. And then lo and behold, I'm in the theater and I'm waiting for it. I'm like, I wonder, because somebody told me they corrected it, but if you go back, there's a video on my YouTube channel where 5 things you probably didn't know about Top Gun, and I talk about this. And I talk about how I was in the theater. I'm like, oh, they brought the original bomber jacket back. And I wonder how much else of the script, because once the production became only US based, I wonder how much of the rest of the script was changed for the better.
Okay, I got an input on that. First of all, you're right. Money talks and bullshit walks, right? In the industry.
Yeah.
That's a quote, not for whatever people think. Actually, I watched Spinal Tap. Remember that movie? I just watched a little bit. And Fran Dresser, now the president of the union that is on a strike, she says that in the movie when she's talking to Ian, the manager. But anyway, I lost the track though. I was going to say, my point is, oh yeah, I remember. And hopefully, you know what? I'm gonna search for him to see if he can be in a future podcast.
I
The
would
guy that
love to talk to him because, if nothing else, I want to say thank you because that movie was awesome.
he wrote it with his cousin, and then the cousin got signed by Tom Cruise production, and he didn't invite him to the party, and
Uh,
he wrote it.
well,
So
I
he's
will.
been suing the production for a long time. There's a we I went to a concert to another friend of mine, Troy, and he was there with us. We went to see The Warning, this amazing rock metal band from Mexico. Three girls, super hot, super talented. They're really good. I recommended The Warning. And he was there, and we were talking, and he talked a little bit about it, and it will be amazing. I will invite him. But the point is, if the original writer is not invited to the party, imagine what all the changes going to happen,
Right,
right?
right. I would be curious to know, but I will. Just two things I want to say about Top Gun Maverick real quick. I remember sitting in the because I love Top Gun. And I'm sitting in the theater and I'm worried because I'm like, is it gonna be as good? I remember being floored in the theater because not only was it as good, it was better because
Better.
it had
Yeah.
everything that made Top Gun awesome plus a really good script. It was
Yeah, it was really good.
fantastic. And then and I know who it is. Who's the composer?
I can Google it.
I know who it is. I'm just drawing a blank. It's not James Horner.
No, it's not.
No, no, no. I know that, but that's
I'm
what's
really,
popping into my
I'm
mind.
really, I'm really bad with this,
I know. I
with
do that. I get
composers.
a. I
I'm
get
a
a brain fart.
musician, and but well, whoever he is, you were saying,
So, the
I gotta do this.
the Top Gun, uh, the Top Gun theme is one of my favorites on my playlist, and I just, it's like it's a song that really I'm thinking I'm like, you can't make it
I gotta do
better.
this. Are you ready?
He feels the need.
Sorry, I just made it too. You know what? I got a great memory. Sorry that I interrupted you, but this came to my mind. My first band, my first rock band, the name of the band was Route 69, and the guitar player, his name was Delay, like the effect Delay, right? We call him like that because he was always late for rehearsal, not for anything else. And his solo in the show, he was playing that song, the theme from Top Gun. So it was really good. I just remember that song. I mean, he's not here anymore in this world, but hello for
Oh,
wherever you are.
I feel so stupid because I love his work. Hans Zimmer.
Hans,
Yeah, I know, and
sorry, Hans Zimmer.
that's sorry because I love his work, but I always make this joke, but it's true and it's funny because they were like, well, you can't make the Top Gun theme better, and Hans Zimmer goes, "Hold my beer," because holy crap.
There's I'm a guy that loves Top Gun. I don't consider myself a super fan, but I love it, right? And that is an example to relaunch a brand without damaging the previous. Now, we all know that in the industry, Top Gun has I mean, Tom Cruise has a lot to say. And if you don't like it, you can walk the other way. So you see, we have one leader and all the people around. In Star Wars and DC Comics and Marvel, sadly, it's not like that.
Not
It's 10
anymore.
people.
Yeah, unfortunately,
Yeah.
it used to be like that because with Star Wars, George Lucas used to be the be all end all.
Yeah, but he even messed it up with episode one, two, and three. He wanted to
Um,
release so much information. I
hmm,
don't dislike them, but come on. I'm just gonna say two words, and I want to see your face. Jar Jar Binks. So actually, it was three words, but Jar Jar Binks is the worst mistake of Star Wars.
yeah, it that definitely could have been done better, but and Star Wars isn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination. But what's interesting though is there is, believe it or not, there is a franchise that used to be like that, and then they got away from the single authority and is better for it, and that's Star Trek. Because
Yeah,
Gene Roddenberry used to be the be all end all, and when they started deviating away from his overall,
he brought
like,
it back.
well, they kept his overall vision, but it was problematic for writing because he never wanted any conflict amongst the crew. It's like, well, how are you going to write compelling stories if you're not allowed to have conflict with the people that are on the show every week?
Of course.
And he never he
What
Gene Roddenberry expressly said he never wanted like open war in a Star Trek franchise. Well, then Deep Space Nine comes around and says, not only are we going to have an open war, but it's going to be a serialized arc spanning 3 whole seasons, and it's the best Star Trek series to date. Fight me.
What I'm gonna ask you something. What do you think about the Orbit from Mark Farnley? That's the name of the show, the Orbit.
I love the Orville.
He says, yeah, of course. That's actually a remake of Star Trek
Oh
in
yeah,
any way you see it.
yeah. It's. I very much view it as it's Seth MacFarlane's love letter to Star Trek, but it's obviously it's got more comedy. But I kind of like that about the show because the my major complaint with Star Trek is always like not everybody loves classical music, guys. Like not
Yeah.
everybody is obsessed with Shakespeare. Some dudes are gonna want to watch, Singing in the Rain or old trash reality TV. You know,
But we go back to the same. When Star Trek was released, the viewers need to find empathy with what? With Singing in the Rain, or with. If you remember, every time they go back to a simulator or to a new world, is again an ode to what was happening in the world in that time.
oh, 100%.
Uh,
Star Trek is super progressive, but and at the time, Gene Roddenberry's style fit like a glove. But
yeah,
over time, like we said, the culture changed. You know, people over generations became a lot more accepting of different races and different creeds. So now having a diverse, like Star Trek will always have a diverse cast. It's built into it, but that was no longer the focal point because people, by the time you get Deep Space Nine and especially like Enterprise, which was what was that 2005 ish. By that time, seeing a black person on the bridge as an officer is like, well, yeah, why wouldn't he be, or why wouldn't she be?
yeah.
You
They
know,
always been super progressive. They always been so good. I mean, it's a show that is really close to my heart, right? But it's really funny. For me, you ask me to make a cover of a band, I can do whatever, but the ones that I respect, I can't. I can talk whatever you want that Star Wars. I'm a fan. It would be really hard for me to throw shit to Star Trek because I really respect to the simple point that in my life I haven't been able to press a button and get launched in speed light ride with my car like the Millennium Falcon. But guess what? I'm actually talking into a phone with a screen like Star Trek. So that imagine how influence had Star Trek that the technology that we're having today. How long ago was the first episode from Star Trek?
that was
50?
in 660. It was in the 60s. I can't remember the exact. Was it 65 maybe or
So that
60?
were how many years? So whatever years ago, right? That create the society that we're having today. Equality. You see the first how do you call it? Races that can be man and a woman, right? And everything you saw that in a Star Trek. That's how progressive that show was. For a reason that I don't understand, that I will never accept or understand, it never been as famous outside the States as Star Wars. Why? Don't ask me. I really don't know.
I think Star Wars is just more clear cut, and even down to translating it. Star Wars, I think, is just easier to not repackage, but it's easier to convert to another language, another culture. It's a little bit more universal, which is ironic because Star
It's
Trek
ironic
really
because Star
Star
Trek
Trek
is
really doesn't.
universal.
Yeah, I mean, it's a unique culture that doesn't really exist on Earth. I mean, it does tend to lean more human, but even in the later series, like Enterprise does a really good job of integrating the other alien species. And I always go to bat for Enterprise. I know a lot of people don't like it. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic.
I think that they have so much continuity and realistic process inside the story that you can argue. You can argue with that.
Yeah. But I'm one of those people who, I mean, I don't get me wrong. I like the Next Generation, but it's not even on my top 3.
Yes, but it doesn't disturb you, doesn't bother you. I don't like the
Yeah.
generation, but I can watch it. It's like the Law and Order, right? I love SBU and I love Goran, right? And I hate the other ones, but I can watch it and it doesn't bother me because they're respecting the culture of the Law and Order. And
Exactly. Yeah.
Star Trek did the same. Sorry, I dropped my iPad.
No, you're good.
Um,
Well, but it's like you brought up the Orville, and I think there's a lot of Star Trek fans that automatically dismiss the Orville because it's like, well, it's not Star
the
Trek.
Orville.
I'm like, but it
Well,
is.
it's
It's
not. It's not. But thanks God, it's not. But it's reminding me that I can go back and watch Star Trek. I really like it.
how did you feel about Galaxy Quest? Have you seen it? I assume you have.
No, actually, I haven't. There's some things that I saw a trailer, and I don't even wanna spend my time.
Galaxy Quest has no business being as good as it is.
Really,
It's
it
a
will go to the recommendations
it's
list.
it's a, it's a tremendous movie, and it stands on its own. But many Trek fans include it as a Star Trek film, even though obviously it's not. Alan Rickman kills it, and Tim Allen really shows. I mean, I've seen that side of Tim Allen because Tim Allen he's a fantastic actor and he can do really good emotional work. You just don't see it as often because he's more of a comedy actor, but he does. It's a really good movie.
It will go to the recommendations. Talking about more new things and new age fiction. Have you seen The Foundation on Apple TV?
I don't have Apple TV.
Okay,
I'm
let's go
just
back.
a folksy Indiana boy. I don't.
Yeah, but you have $5.99 a month, right? So you can download it. It's really good. Apple TV is doing great content for every kind, and we go about get the pop culture. I believe for many years that HBO was the best production company. Not anymore. Apple TV. This is not a sponsor thing. I wish, but Apple doesn't sponsor nobody. Apple TV is releasing so many good shows. Foundation is something that is hard to get into, but as soon as you get into, it will grab you by the balls and spill you all around, and you want more. I
I
will not
actually, yeah,
release.
I actually really like shows like that. I like shows that are not necessarily a challenge, but I'm not a very passive viewer. Like for a very long time, I wasn't into Game of Thrones, for example. And I tried to watch it, but I never started from the beginning. It was always like, "Oh yeah, you should watch Game of Thrones. Look, it's on now." And I'm like, "I don't know who these people are. I don't know what's going
Yeah.
on." And I tried, and I just couldn't get into it until I watched a random video on YouTube, and the title was literally "You're watching Game of Thrones wrong." And so I'm like,
Okay.
"Okay, I'll buy it," because everybody says how good it is, right? And I'm like, clearly
Yeah.
I must be missing something. And it said, I bet you're watching this because I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. And they said, I bet you're
Huge.
yeah, and the video said it's like, I bet you're trying to watch this the same way you watch Lord of the Rings. Stop it.
Yeah.
Watch Game of
It can't.
Thrones. Watch Game of Thrones like a political thriller that just happens to have dragons.
And zombies.
Okay.
So it's really something really important about Game of Thrones. It's funny that you mention it because I watched the first season. I went and bought the first season. Everybody was talking. I was traveling in Europe. I went to Mexico. A friend of mine told me, Augusto Chusto is his nickname. Really funny guy. I could invite him one day to the podcast, but he's always drunk, so it's pointless. But he's funny. And one of those Saturdays, right? He's like, "What are you doing?" I remember now. He said, "I just bought the full season of Game of Thrones." I go like, "Whatever." I used to have this movie theater inside the house in the Rockstar Matter. I don't do that crazy things anymore. But we just watched the whole first season in one day, just stopping to eat pizza or go to the washroom. And after that, it was so much, so long, that I stopped it for 5 years. Fast forward, moved to the States, and I second, third day of this last time in the States, right? I don't know no one in LA, no one. So I go to meetups and I see Dungeons and Dragons. I used to play in college. We can talk about Dungeons and Dragons later. Um, Dungeons and Dragons and Game of Thrones fourth season premiere. I go like, I don't know nobody. It's better to fall with people that are gonna try to assassinate me, right? And I went there and I met a lot of cool people, and they played the first episode of the fourth season, and gasping their emotions. and how they all start singing the song together, theme song, it made me want to watch it, and I became a full core fan. I mean, Cersei is one of the hottest women I ever met in my life because she's mean as hell, right? So,
Yeah.
Game of Thrones is something that if you haven't seen it, you gotta watch it. Is part of pop culture, right? And that's another example of no doesn't matter how the story is far, is so on tune with society, even it was written so long ago, like the Lord of the Rings, that becomes empathy, and then you have a success again. And HBO was the best producer, but let me go back to Apple TV. Ted Lasso, The Foundation. There's another one with Harrison Ford, Shrink Me. Fantastic shows that you need to watch them. They're really good, and I recommend it for all the people that are watching this. Apple TV, I will highly recommend everyone because, as everybody knows, I spend my day watching movies, making phone calls for the company, or rehearsing for again. Last 3 days, I've been watching Apple TV, and I saw this amazing movie. Hopefully, you watch it. The biggest run beer of all times. I think that's the name of. Have you seen that movie
Mm-mm.
with Zac Efron? Well, Zac Efron, I never liked the guy, but in this movie, take my hat. He looks like David Hasselhoff. He's a mature guy in the Vietnam War that decides that the best thing that he can go to help the people and their neighbors, the guys from the hood, is to go over there and bring them beer just to build up their
Oh
spirits.
no, I saw a trailer for that. I haven't watched it yet, but it looked good.
It's really good. You think it's gonna be stupid Zac Efron thing? It's not. He shows amazing characteristic as an actor. You see him mature, and then Russell Crowe is in the movie and comes and put the serious part of the movie, and then becomes this intrigue of political suspense, releasing the reality of LBJ, of what he did in Vietnam. Fantastic political movie, fun factor, right? Because the guy is a true story, and he actually just went to Vietnam, went into war being a civilian, just to deliver beers to their friends so they can pull their spirits off in a good American way. So it's a good thing that you should watch it
Oh,
as
I
well.
I want to watch that for sure because I remember seeing the preview for it and I was like, well, that looks interesting.
I'm so surprised how he looks like David Hasselhoff so much. Zac Efron, have you noticed that every kid that we see is a repetition? Brad Pitt is Robert Redford. They look exactly the same.
Oh my God, you're right.
They look exactly. There was a movie in the late '90s, probably 2000, The Castle of
Mm-hmm.
Robert Redford. You see him, and you put Brad Pitt right now, they're like clones. Zac Efron, David Hasselhoff, and we can do a list of all the people that look alike. It's crazy. I'm still thinking if Deadpool, what is the name? Ryan Reynolds. I haven't found who he looks like, but could be Errol Flynn. Could be. I don't know. I'm still finding. I'm still finding.
We can compare some pictures. I think you might be onto something with that one.
But if you realize the agents select empathy today, that's my word. Empathy to a pre-visualization of somebody that is already famous to generate another famous star. Whoever. Doesn't matter where they come from.
Well,
I
there are definitely I'm not going to say they're universal, but there are very common facial features and body structures that are pleasing to the largest common denominator of people. So that makes sense, and it might happen very much on a subconscious level. What-
I think it's in a subconscious level for the viewers and some agents because if you have Harrison Ford in your mind and then somebody come to your door and looks like Harrison Ford, you're like, I gotta sign this guy.
Yeah. Well, and then not to circle back to Star Trek, but when the 2009 reboot, the first thought I had was, wow, these are all dead ringers for the original cast.
Yeah,
And it
completely.
that was I found out that was done very intentionally, and it did. There was an association in my brain because being a fan, I saw it immediately.
But for a cast, you look somebody that looked like the character. I'm talking about the actors have a cast for the next generation of
Yeah.
his persona in a different one. That's something that what the union is fighting right now. With my company, with Force and Industries, we developed a project a few months back that we wanted to have a full movie created with AI, everything. But I was gonna continue giving jobs to humans, making the voices. I didn't want the voices to be real. We stopped it because we realized that it's gonna be bad for society, right? 6 months later, that's what they're suing because they don't want to digitalize. And CAA, one of the biggest agencies in the world, announced that Tom Cruise, Morgan Freeman, and Harrison Ford, they were gonna be an AI character, a meta human, to make movies forever. So that's part of what they're going through right now because that will stop next generations of Harrison Fords, next generations.
Well, the argument that could be made is, will you ever have another Tom Cruise? Will you ever have another Harrison
Ah, yeah.
Ford? Really? I don't know.
Google,
I think the era
if you
of
ask
the
ask your grandfather,
well, right, but I
ask
think I think the era of the movie star that can carry a movie on their back, I think that's largely gone.
Ryan Reynolds, The Rock, um, what is the gay the guy that
Okay,
plays Ray?
like there's a handful, but let's look at it from this angle. So if you go back to the '90s, I can rattle off a long list of names that would carry a movie, and some of them are still around today. Don't get me wrong, but they're like a Tom Hanks, a Sandra Bullock, a Tom
But
Cruise.
for you and me, and we talked about this before, and this is the same that I was coming to. And I don't want to be an ass here. I'm just putting my point. For you and me, there's never gonna be a Tom Hanks. For my mom, Richard Dreyfuss and Clark Gable, they never gonna be somebody like that. But I mentioned this yesterday. For some people in 10, 15 years, 15, 1, 5, Justin Bieber will be the Elvis Presley for us,
Oh
the
sure.
king of rock, the king of pop. We still don't let Michael Jackson go. People don't want to leave Mike. But if you listen to what is this guy, the Savage Love guy, Jason Derulo, if you listen to him, if you close your eyes and listen to him, it's a version of Michael Jackson. A kid that has been listening to in that she was 5, 4, 6 years, 7 in COVID, that grew up with Savage Love with Jason Derulo, he doesn't know Michael Jackson songs. He will know Bad or Billie Jean, but that's it. They don't know Michael Jackson. They know Jason Derulo. Next generation gonna know another one, and that's what is so important to do the best that you can with your life because this conversation, thanks to technology, will stay forever. The last conversation is gone. Nobody gonna remember that one. Nobody's gonna care about virus. Nobody's gonna care about you and me talking together. That's what is so important, and that's what is surprising for me. How, as we are not allowing ourselves as generations to look back and look forward. I listen to music nowadays, and I start doing the old grandpa thing, like, oh shit, what kind of music is that, right? I start doing that, and I listen to old music. I go like, that doesn't sound like the things that I like. And going back to your point, there's actors right now and directors and producers that they're as good or equal to the people that it was for us. It's not another Harrison Ford. Come on, what is the name?
Well, to me,
The
it's
guy.
not an issue of talent. It's an issue of the studio structure of today because they're
Okay, point for you. Keep going, keep going.
well, I'm just gonna say because it seems to me, and I could be, I'm gonna say it. I'm pulling something out of the air right here. It just seems to me that the major studio structure is no longer interested in pushing movie stars. They're interested in pushing IP. Now they'll attach stars to that IP, but okay, so
Mm,
well, okay,
I'm with
and
you. Keep
that's
going, keep going,
well,
keep going,
I'm
keep
I'm
going.
I'm trying to circle this around because I have a legitimate question, and you might actually be able to answer this for me. When it comes to AI and actors' likenesses, so I know that's one of the things they're striking on at the moment. But big Back to the Future fan. But didn't Crispin Glover sue them because they used his likeness in Back to the Future Part 2 and he won?
Yes, he won, right? But there's a situation there. He sued them because they use a character that he developed with his personality.
I thought it was his likeness. Am I not
His
correct on that?
likeness, but maybe I'm wrong, but
I
the
only
lawyer said that the character became live because his likeness and his performance of the character, that it was taken to continue the legacy.
right,
However,
but wouldn't that precedent be set for an AI creation?
not because what they're actually arguing right now, as far as I know, is that the only thing that the studios announce is they want to pay once the extras, so they don't have to use them again.
Oh,
It's
okay,
just the
so
extras right now. It's not the main actor yet.
I okay, that now I understand it a lot more cuz yeah, I was thinking I'm like, well, and to be fair, I'm probably wrong, but it seems to me like they've hashed this out before, but yeah, I get it now. An extra in the background doesn't have, well, they don't even have the means to sue financially. Not a big studio.
No, but if you realize an actor, background actor, not even an extra, background actor will make $100 a day.
Mm-hmm.
It's really badly paid. Then extra, probably 140, right? Then if you have some lines, 200 to 250 to $300. Then if you have a role, probably $1,000 per day. And if you're not a lead, the lead could go to $30,000 per day, depending if they're SAG or not. Just for people to know, I own a company called Force and Industries Corporation that we help and advise actors in LA, in Beverly Hills. It's our office. A lot of people know me as a singer from Again, and I love it. That's my passion, right? But one of the goals that I put in me coming to America, when I came as an immigrant, trying to understand the system, nobody's playing you the system. You want to see jealousy? Have actors that are friends. They can have an agent and they will not introduce you. You're the best friend to their agent. The jealousy is huge. So for me to prevent that, we create a company inside of Force and Industries, a department, sorry, that we help, we advise actors. That's what I'm so involved with, the actoral and development and writers. That's because I don't want people to think that I'm pulling everything out of my ass. Probably I am, but at least I got the foundation of a company.
Well,
And it,
I'm actually stoked when I learned that about you because I had questions and that was one of them. And I'm like, I bet Virus can shed some light on that.
bring
So
it.
yeah. So yeah, I totally now I understand that a lot better because I haven't said a lot about the strike because I'm not in that world, so I don't really know that much about it, and I don't like to, unless I'm having fun, I don't like to speculate too much, especially when it comes to other people's money. I really don't like to speculate because again, I'm not in the
Yeah.
know. I'm not in the
And
know.
and we don't know what's happening. We're never gonna know what's happening. And I'm gonna jump outside of our entertainment podcast for a second. But I was talking to somebody today about the situation in Hawaii. I'm so sorry for the people that lost their houses, lives. I'm really sorry. We're going to a political matter that is pop culture, right? People don't know this, but I invite everyone. I don't know if you know who Fernando Valenzuela was. Do you know him? Pitcher in the 80s, champion, multi-time champion, uh, pitcher of the star pitcher from the Dodgers, many years in LA. He got a documentary about his life in 30 for 30. You can watch it in Disney Plus. The first 7 minutes of the documentary, it will shock you, and I will tell you why I start with Hawaii. The neighborhood where it's built, the Dodger Stadium, it was a Latino area, and they wanted to buy them out, the owners, so they could move and they can build a stadium. Guess what happened? One night, everything caught on fire. The price went down. They needed to take the money because the government didn't support them, and then they built the Dodger Stadium. And it's ironic that 30, 40, 60 years later, a Latino come there and became the biggest starting pitcher for the Dodgers. So I was talking about that with somebody about Hawaii. Of course, everything that I'm saying is an assumption, but I been a political advisor, right? And people in Portland, Oregon. My family's been in politics many, many years. So my knowledge, I study law in Mexico, right? So my knowledge comes from someplace. Not everything is from my ass, right? Even my body's really good. The situation that we're seeing in Hawaii is exact. It looks like, and I'm gonna go to a point of entertainment. The government is giving $700 to every person that live in Hawaii so they can move on with their lives. At the same time, billions of dollars were authorized to Ukraine. The reality that we're seeing is that $700, you know what is worth it for? To pay a ticket to get the hell out so they can make you a low offer, and then another company will buy it and make it the cheapest tourism place in Hawaii. Now is going to be one of the highest. If that doesn't sound familiar with the Dodger Stadium, maybe I'm stupid. You can send me the CIA. I don't care, right? But the reality is that we don't know exactly what's going on. It's well known in the industry that Fran Drescher, the representative for the actors, remember the nanny? He's one of the most important people in the movement right now in the strike. I guarantee you this, to you, to all the people that are going to follow in, they're following everything. And I know that already media is going to be in trouble for that, but I got lawyers. I guarantee you that after this, when she comes in the top for helping everyone, she's going to be the next president of SAG. Why? Because that's politics. We really don't know what happened in a movie. We don't know what the budget is come. We can assume. And at the end of the day, you told me I don't talk about it because I don't know. We don't know because there's always closed doors in every negotiation for a role, for a movie, for a script. Do you know how much money Top Gun made? Maverick?
Off the top of my head, no, but I know it made a lot.
I think it was 1.1 billion, right?
That
That's the
sounds
last time I checked.
that sounds
Last time I
right.
checked. You know how much they paid for the script?
30 grand.
Around that, less than 60 grand. Do we know if they make a close thing, a non-disclosure? We're never gonna know. So that's when it becomes interesting. The Vox Populi. The Vox Populi, for the ones that don't know, that's a Latin term from all the people that is around a circumstance of the population of a nation. The Vox Populi needs to talk. I need to ask the right questions. You remember the movie I, Robot with Will Smith? You need to ask the right questions.
Yep.
Every morning I wake up and I look at my social media, and I don't spend too much time, but I go and check somebody that posts something or talk about something, and I try to put a positive perception of the matter. And that's what entertainment is. Again, empathy to the moment and timing with the society to make something successful. But I'm going to stop with the politics because we're not going to be the chairman of the board today. I'm
Well,
Virus today.
I will just add one thing. It's actually worse than you described. It's $700 per household, not per person, which
Well, now they
is
can. It's nothing. It's
yeah,
nothing. It's
yeah.
nothing. Yeah, I was talking to somebody about that, and it's crazy. But I highly recommend everyone to watch the documentary. ESPN now is bought obviously by Disney. In Disney Plus, you go to History Channel, put 30 by 30, and there's a whole catalog of sports, 30 by 30, fantastic documentaries. Look the one from Fernando Valenzuela. You don't have to look at all. You don't have to be a baseball fan. But if you see the first minutes with the Dodger Stadium, it will pop your mind with the Hawaii situation.
See, but that's the kind of stuff that and I always like to I like to be observant because we're living in history as it happens, and in 40 years, 20 to 40 years, we're gonna have not even all the information, but we're gonna have a lot more information, and you're gonna be. I'll never forget. I was watching a documentary about the atomic bomb, and they were interviewing survivors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and they were interviewing this one older man who was a boy or teenager, I think, because he knew vaguely what was going on. But the interviewers told him that the United States government warned the Japanese government that they were going to drop another bomb before, because he was from Nagasaki. He didn't know that. He was like, they knew? And it shattered, because this guy, when they did the documentary, he was probably in his 80s. It shattered a good 60 to 70 years of his perception of what had happened in his life. And that can devastate a person.
Imagine that, first of all, God bless him because he was so naive, right? I don't know if you got the chance to watch Oppenheimer, the movie.
Not yet, but I'm going to soon.
As you know, I go to the movie theater 3 times a week, and I'm not making commercials. Today, I am in that mood. I got the AMC thing. I pay $24 3 times a week. I go to everything. I love it.
AMC A-List is one of the best things I've ever bought.
It's really good.
I recommend it to literally everyone. If you go to the movies, realistically, twice a
Even if
month.
you don't. Yeah, even if you don't.
Well,
If
but I
you
mean,
go
if you
once
go,
to the VIP, yeah.
yeah, if you go twice a month or more, it pays for itself.
I got a question for you that I don't know. How much is a movie ticket for a normal movie in where you live?
Roughly $15.
Okay, and the VIP one?
Oh, you know what?
You know
I'm
the
wrong.
diner?
I think it's roughly $12 or $13 for a regular, and then the premium will be, depending on what kind it is, it'll be anywhere from like 16 to 20.
Wow. In California, it's $12.99, and the VIP could go to 35 per person. $35 in the VIP. Now, let me tell you something. Now that I'm traveling and visiting my family in Washington, the movie theaters are $7.
Really?
What? Yeah, something that I want to clap to AMC, not because and I'm not looking for a sponsor. I remember Wayne's World. We're not gonna sell that. AMC is just like that.
Eric, my co-host on the Average Intelligence podcast, found that clip on Facebook and tagged me in it because
It's fantastic.
I have fun. I have fun with sponsorship jokes. I have a good time with it.
It's fantastic. But like I said, we're not looking for a sponsor. AMC, congratulations, because they're adapting their prices based in every theater. Because if I go to Portland, because my family's in Vancouver, Washington, 20 minutes to Portland, you just cross a bridge. The theater in Portland has another different price because it's based from the minimum wage. And that's good because movies are moving forward. Sadly, live theater, that is part of our entertainment, and we're going to talk about it here, is going down and down and down. And losing theater will be devastating for next generations. It's already a nightmare that these new generations don't even understand what is to turn their phone off to understand Shakespeare, or forget about it, just a new script written by a new writer, right? I don't know if you guys know about, again, my band. We have a song called Macbeth that is actually based in Lady Macbeth. And we needed to make a post explaining why, because nobody knew. And it was devastating from our fans to tell me why the song is called Macbeth. You never said Macbeth. Start clipping, right? So we make, and I'm blessed, right? And again, we're gonna go back to entertainment because this show is about that. I think we're gonna have a part of the show when I'm gonna ask you, have you seen or have you watched Yellowstone?
I haven't watched it yet, but I just want to let everybody know their books, they don't bite. You can't. Yeah, there it is. It's really good. It's really good. Macbeth is phenomenal.
And this is for all the fans of Yellowstone out there. What you're watching is a mix of Hamlet, Macbeth, and Othello. They merge it together, and then you have Yellowstone. For the ones that don't believe me, remember Sons of Anarchy?
Mm-hmm.
That's Hamlet. It's the son of the king that dies, and now is the ruled by the stepfather. And at the end, I guess after 10 years, I can spoil the ending. Everybody dies. Hamlet killed the mom. So it's exactly that. That's what those shows are so successful, because they got the roots of the original
Would you
script.
would you say Breaking Bad is a take on? Sorry, would you say Breaking Bad is a take on Faust?
Of course,
Oh,
definitely. Yeah, of course.
I totally read it that
But
way.
it's funny that people don't understand that. Maybe one day when we go bigger, I'm really proud to say that in Oregon they did a competition about short clips, and it was fantastic. And let me share this experience with you guys. It was through COVID, 6 a.m. in the morning on a Saturday. You go online and they spin the wheel, and they found a writer and match it with an actor and match it with a director. Now you got the teams. 7 a.m. on a Saturday. You spin the wheel, right? The people from the Hamlet Society, I don't remember the name, so sorry. I'll make sure I put it in the comments. Uh, they say a theme and two words that you needed to use. And after that happened, I had a day to write it, a morning to film it. So I was a writer in that thing. And then we presented it Sunday through Facebook at 7 p.m. And I was really grateful that we won. It was fantastic. And I based everything. It was, for me, was surprising. I'm not criticizing the other talent, that if you're working with Shakespeare, right? So I wrote something with the Shakespearean style, right? And it was good. And I don't remember the words, but I will actually. I'm gonna ask Nina to add it at the end of our podcast so people watch it. I'm really proud of that work. The director, Greta, she did a great job because she listened to me. She did her amazing job. I wasn't involved in the filming, but I told her, "Can you make it in black and white, please?" She did it fantastically, and the actor Eric, she did a good job. So uh, if you see that and you learn that and you read the books that you have behind you, then when you watch a movie, you understand what a subtext means or what a concept means and a character development is. And you don't go out saying, who was the bad guy? When somebody says that in a movie, I really want to grab him from the head, smack him like WWE, smack him in the chest and sit him again in the seat so he watch it again, right? So, but I recommend that people read, because behind every great story is a template of somebody already written before.
Well, history is a living organism, and it affects us all, even in terms of storytelling. Like, believe it or not, this is related. Talking about pro wrestling, my favorite wrestler of all time is a gentleman by the name of Rob Van Dam. He made me fall in love with pro wrestling because he was so different. But I digress. He just recently returned for a major company, and he had a match with one of their young stars. And the crazy thing is, the match was an homage to a match that he had in 1996, I believe. And I recognize parts of the match because
That's
it's
fantastic.
one of my favorite matches of all time. But I was like, oh, that they did that spot in '96, and it was like
Wow,
I was
that's
floored.
amazing.
But it's like that match was it was okay on its own, but if you know the history and you understand the reference, it then becomes special.
Remember, and we can complain all that you want about the new trilogy or Star Wars. Remember the feeling when you saw the Millennium Falcon again?
Oh no, I don't hate the Force Awakens.
But what I'm saying, do you remember that feeling?
Absolutely, and when
Oh,
Ray and
wow.
when Ray ignites the lightsaber,
You got chills.
yeah, 100%.
That's what happened when you read Shakespeare, right? And then you see a reference, you go like, yeah, right? So I highly recommend that people read. And I'm not gonna sound like, I'm pretty sure everyone here that look to this podcast and listen and watch all the Ready Media podcasts, they can just go online and listen to an audiobook if they don't want to. What brings me to the recommendations of the day. What do you have? Ah, I
That's a
love it.
good. Well, are we talk? Well, let's see. What are we recommending? Because I love this segment, by the way, but I think we gotta pick a medium to recommend. So what do we?
What about we recommend a movie, a TV show, a crazy thing, Can be animated, can be audiobook, and I don't know. Just we're not that kind of people. Just start whatever you want.
A movie. Well, I'll repeat
A video game.
a video game. Well, I will reintroduce my pick that we had on the last uh, podcast. It'll kind of seem out of left field, but man, it really tied it in. If you especially if you're a fan of The Walking Dead, but if you just like games in general, if you love really good stories, because for me it's all about the story. The gameplay is secondary for me. I know I'm weird, but I'm a big fan of the Telltale series of games, but particularly their Walking Dead series is phenomenal. I'm sorry if the video game can make you cry, or like
It's good. It's good. It's good writing.
I just
good writing. That shows good writing.
and they condition because I remember I think it's in the second one you find a dog and I'm like, I'm gonna have to kill a dog.
And you get to decide, and that's really cool. Yeah, great call. That's your video game. Obviously, I'm gonna repeat that every show. The Last of Us, playing in super hard. The first version, playing super hard, and then when you play it again after you finish it, you go to options, and then you can make everything in slow motion. You can have unlimited gun shells. You got a limited manufacturer, so make it even easier. But then you put it in super hard, and it's fantastic because you can play it in light, right, in easy, and that's fun. But if you want to feel the real life, right, this will be The Last of Us, the first one. We're still waiting 7 more years to get the third part. Now it's connected to the HBO series. Again, a strike, so we're gonna have to keep waiting. But movie, what is your selection of the day of the week?
Well, I'll just go ahead with the recommendation. Well, you know what? Let's see. What have we talked about today? Because I like themes. So let's see. I'm gonna recommend a Star Trek movie.
Which one?
Well, I'm thinking. If you haven't seen, I can't imagine you haven't seen it if you're a Star Trek fan. But just in case you haven't, you gotta watch Wrath of Khan.
Khan! Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. The Wrath of Khan is the best movie of the old.
It's the go. And the thing of it is I've shown Wrath of Khan to non Star Trek fans, and once they understand who's who, they still say it's a good movie.
And they will jump to Star Trek after watching the Wrath of Khan. Ricardo Montalban, one of the underrated Latinos. Oh, Khan is Khan. Anyway, so my recommendation of the movie, I'm gonna go a little non-classic, right? Because I want to see good things. If you want to go to the movies, watch Oppenheimer. It's a really good movie. As you know, it's the same director that directed Batman. We all love Batman, The Dark Knight. That's right. And I'm gonna say for an old movie or a streaming movie, I highly recommend that you guys watch The Biggest Beer Run, with Zac Efron. That's his name.
Yep.
Gayfron. That's his name. Yeah, Efron. Yeah, sorry. So that will do that. You want to see your strange recommendation of the week?
It actually ties into your strange one. Full disclosure, I'm a big fan of Daniel Radcliffe. Obviously discovered him from the Harry Potter series, but I've watched him in a couple of other projects that he's done, and he is... I'm not going to say he's underrated, but I think if you don't explore his other work, you're missing out. He did a movie... I think it was in 2017, so it's a little bit older. It might even be older than that, called Imperium. He plays an FBI... I guess you would call
it.
It's so good. Basically, I don't know what you call it in the FBI, but basically he's an infiltrator. Or I think he's a translator actually, but his job is to get in cozy with people and then investigate. He infiltrates a white supremacist group, and it is so good.
I'm gonna look into that.
It is actually. I looked today because I got a hankering to watch it. It's currently free on YouTube with ads. So You
Okay,
get
but then I say a movie streaming, a movie, right, a video game. This is my strange thing. I started looking for the Street Fighter movie that I told you.
hmm,
I'm right now. I'm gonna put the link in the information. This was it's 2 hours and 26 minutes, and they put together. It's in YouTube. You can put it as Street Fighter Assassin's Fist. It's
writing.
free in YouTube. Uh, it was uploaded a year ago, right? It says Assassin's Fist. I'm gonna translate as I read this in Spanish. Somebody in Spanish. I don't know what is in Spanish. That's a nightmare. Um, Assassin's Fist is a web series with actors based in the video game Street Fighter. This was developed by Joe Ashan and Christian Howard. They wrote and play Street Fighter Legacy um, as Akuma and Ken Masters. It was released in the 2305 2014 in Machima in YouTube. So let me tell a little bit about the background of this because you guys gonna love it. This guy called Christian Howard went to Honda, the driving cars in Japan, and say, "I want to make a thing for a new thing. It's called YouTube. It's gonna be huge." And they say, "Well, what are you gonna do?" "I want to do Street Fighter." So they sponsor. They give him $10,000 for the first cut. That is 4 minutes. It became so successful in Japan that it went big till Capcom realized that it was an illegal rights, but it's so good that Capcom didn't bought it, but didn't put it down. So they put together all the shows, and if you see it all together, it's 2 hours and 26 minutes of fantastic shorts that there are continuous story of how Ryu and Ken got trained by the master. Meanwhile, the master is a enemy of Akuma. It's glorious. So if you guys want to go crazy, obviously it's free in YouTube. Street Fighter, column points, Assassin Fist, the movie. It's got subtitles. It's in English. Got subtitles in English, French, German, Vietnamese, Arabian, Chechenic, and Danish. So it's already in YouTube, guys. You better watch it. I don't know if you can see it, but recommendation of the day. We will put the link over there, and we can talk about it next show. If you next show we have Alexander Sakal. Before we go, Alexander is better known in the infra world of poker, right? And Magic the Gathering as Pan, right? Like a pan, like a flipping pan. Uh, it's like a flipping pan. And he is a pop oracle. Whatever we ask him, he will know the answer. He's a great friend. And he actually, in a point of his life, he started representing Magic the Gathering around the world. And he was ranked number 3 in the world. So for all the fans of Magic the Gathering and the cards game, it will be a treat to have him here.
Oh, I miss Magic the Gathering so much.
You know that I never play it.
I there was like a 2 or 3 year span where my friend group and I that essentially is what we did every weekend.
I got a problem with Magic the Gathering. I was living in the States. I went back to Mexico, and Alexander at that point is the number 3 in the world. So he told me, "I got this great game. You want to play with me?" And I'm like shooting hoops with Michael Jordan. He
Yeah.
killed it for me. He
Right.
was the number 3 in the world, right? In the world qualifier. He went to Japan to play. He traveled the world representing Magic the Gathering and the what is the name of the brand? The West Coast Wizards of
Wizard.
the West Coast. He was sponsored by them. So when he showed me how to play, he destroyed me like 3 times. Let's go eat tacos, man. So he killed it for me. I couldn't play with him.
I learned how to play properly from somebody. He wasn't ranked nearly that high, but he was ranked locally. And it's like it was almost not fun to play with him because he was just too good. But actually, I won't do it on this podcast because we're going long. But I'll remember. I have a shout out to my buddy Nick. It's the funniest Magic the Gathering story ever.
Come on, shoot it.
Okay,
It's free
okay,
TV.
okay. So my buddy Nick, you know exactly. You were there because you did it. So you're familiar with Yu-Gi-Oh, right? The whole Heart of the Cards thing. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
he's and our other friend's name was Aaron, and Aaron's really good. And Nick has this new deck that he built, completely engineered to try to beat Aaron's deck. And he's almost got it. He needs one card. If he can get one card, he will win the game. And he's sitting there. He puts his hand on his deck. He goes, Heart of the Cards, and he does like full anime style. He pulls the card up, he puts it out, and then he looks at it. and He goes, "Fuck you, Heart of the Cards." And then Aaron won the game.
That's.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure.
We were rolling. This is one of the funniest things.
I never was able to do that. I played Dungeons and Dragons in college, really, really fast. Like I say before, in Latin America, the racism doesn't exist. The classism exists over there. So playing Dungeons and Dragons over there was a high class game that you play with rich people or middle level high people because you need to speak English and be able to travel to America to buy the books. So when I come to college to America, it's like, what do you do? I play Dungeons and Dragons. I was the geek. I was the nerd for everyone. I was like, what the hell is wrong with you? I didn't know, but at the end, everything works for the best. But I love that game, and hopefully, like I said, we're gonna have Alexander next podcast, and he knows how to play Dungeons, and he knows that, and maybe we can tap into that as well.
I very briefly, I haven't played Dungeons and Dragons a lot, but I have played, and it was a lot of fun. It's just
you need to. I need another recommendation. Everyone, the role play from Star Wars exists. Look it. It's for free online. It's online, totally free. If you want to spend some time away from the computer with your kids, if you are too old, just do that. They will love it. If you're young and you want to be a rebel and not be attached to the computer, of course you gotta watch this podcast. But after that, right? The role play from Star Wars, the role play for Dungeons and Dragons. And if you think you're really hardcore, this is the pop culture of the day. Are you ready? The role play from the band Fade No More, where you are Mike Patton and you need to go under a secret society underground of Earth to figure out the devil's side of everything based on every song of Fade No More. That's your strange thing from the. I just found it, $30. It's fantastic. I will receive it and show it to everyone.
That sounds super fun, actually.
I don't know what it is, but it's nerdy as hell, and that thanks this society now, being nerd is being cool. So I love it. Thank you, Jake.
Thank you for having me. I look forward to the next one.
It's fantastic. It's your podcast, not mine. This is Virus. Peace out.
I have a dream